You walked into the new school with a mix of nervousness and excitement. As you entered the hallway, you felt a knot tighten in your stomach. Great, another school where I'm the principal's daughter. Just what I needed. You muttered under your breath. Students were everywhere, chatting, laughing, and catching up with friends. You kept your head down, your father's words echoing in your mind. Don't talk to anyone, Wine. Focus on your studies and keep our relationship a secret. Your father had told you sternly. Why can't I just be a normal student? Why does everything have to be about studying? You whispered to yourself while walking in the hallway. You noticed a group of girls nearby laughing and joking. They seemed to so carefree, so different from how you felt. I bet they don't have to deal with a principal dad. I just want to enjoy school like everyone else, you grumbled. This is ridiculous. I'm stuck in a new school and I can't even make friends. Thanks, Dad, you muttered annoyingly. As you turned a corner, you saw a group of boys playing around, shoving each other and laughing. One of them bumped into you, almost knocking you over. Watch it, you snapped, but they just laughed and walked away. Great, he pushed and didn't even bother to say sorry. Such an indisciplined kid. Lost in your thoughts, you didn't notice a backpack left carelessly on the floor. You tripped over it, gasping as you fell forward. Oh no, not again, you thought while falling back. Before you hit the ground, a strong arm caught you by the waist, pulling your backpack. Whoa, careful there, a warm voice said. You looked up and found yourself staring into the most handsome face you had ever seen. It was Jungkook, the school's heartthrob. His eyes were kind and he had a slight smile on his lips. Are you okay? He asked, still holding you by the waist. Yes, thank you. You started feeling your cheeks heat up. You quickly straightened yourself and Jungkook let go of your waist. No problem, just watch your step next time, he said with a grin. I'm Jungkook, by the way. I'm Ryan. You replied softly, still a bit flustered. He nodded. Nice to meet you, Ryan. Are you new here? Yes, I just transferred. You said trying to keep your voice steady. Well, welcome to our school. If you need any help or have any questions, feel free to ask, he said with a smile. Thank you. You smiled shyly. As Jungkook walked away, you couldn't help but be impressed by his handsome features and his kind attitude. You watched him disappear into the crowd, feeling a flutter in your chest. Suddenly, a high-pitched, dramatic voice echoed through the hallway. Jungkook, there you are. It was Mia, one of the most popular girls in school. Jungkook sighed, rolling his eyes slightly. Not again. He muttered under his breath, that loud enough for you to hear. This girl is so annoying. You watched as Mia walked towards you both, her expression turning anger as she noticed you standing next to Jungkook. Who does she think she is? You thought while looking at her. Mia came to a stop right in front of you and Jungkook, her eyes narrowing as she glared at you. Who are you? She demanded, her tone icy. I'm Ryan, you replied, trying to stay calm. Mia scoffed. Ryan? Huh, what are you doing? Talking to Jungkook? Jungkook stepped in, his expression annoyed. Mia, it would be better if you leave from here. Mia ignored him and looked directly at you, her eyes flashing with irritation. Well, why don't you just leave us alone? Jungkook and I have important things to discuss. You felt your heart race, but you stood on your ground. I didn't mean to interfere. We were just talking. Talking? With Jungkook? You must be joking. Just leave, okay? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Mia, stop. Don't irritate me early morning. Mia pouted, turning to Jungkook. But Jungkook, we need to discuss the party this weekend. You promised you would go with me. I never promised anything, and I'm tired of you acting like you own me, he said, his voice firm. Her eyes widened in shock. You were feeling increasingly uncomfortable, decided it was best to leave. It's okay, Jungkook. I will just go to class, he said quietly, starting to walk away. Ryan, wait, Mia smirked, stepping closer to him as he walked away. See, Jungkook, she knows her place. He watched your retreating figure, feeling a pang of guilt. Mia, if you ever try to cling on me, I don't hesitate to complain to your parents. Such a headache you are, he said and walked away while she stood angrily. You made your way to the principal's office to submit your joining papers. The hallway seemed longer than usual, and your mind kept drifting back to the encounter with Jungkook and Mia. You sighed, pushing those thoughts aside as you approached your father's office. Knocking on the door, you heard your father's stern voice. Come in. You entered the office. Your father was already looking up from his desk. Ah, Ryan, you're here? How is your first day so far? It's okay, Dad, you replied, handing over the papers. He took the papers and began to review them, but not before launching into his usual lecture mode. Remember, Ryan, you're here to study, no talking to other students, no getting distracted. Your only focus should be in your studies. In order trying to keep your expression neutral. Yes, Dad, I understand it. Okay, you can go now. You nodded again and left the office, closing the door behind you. As you walked back to your classroom, you whispered to yourself, why does everything have to be about studying? Why can't you just have a normal school life? You shook your head and headed to the classroom. You walked into your classroom, your mind still buzzing with your father's words. As you glanced around, you were surprised to see Jungkook sitting in the back row. He looked up and smiled at you as soon as you entered. Great, he is in my classroom, you thought, your heart skipping a beat, but you quickly remembered your father's stern warning about distractions and all. You looked away, trying to ignore the flutter of excitement in your chest. You scanned the room for an empty seat, hoping to avoid any more attention. But your teacher noticed you standing awkwardly at the front row. Ah, Ryan, you're the new student. It seems the only available seat is next to Jungkook. Please, take a seat. You felt a mix of relief and anxiety as you walked towards the back. You couldn't help but notice Mia glaring at you. You could feel the waves of jealousy and anger from her. As you reached the empty seat beside Jungkook, he smiled warmly at you. Nice to know we are classmates, he whispered. Yeah, looks like it, you replied softly, trying to keep your composure. You could still hear your father's voice in your head, reminding you to stay focused. Mia, sitting a few rows ahead, was fuming. How dare she sit next to Jungkook? He never lets any girl sit next to him. Who does she think she is? She thought angrily. You took out your notebook and tried to concentrate on the lesson, but you found it hard to concentrate. Every time Jungkook moved or spoke, you felt your attention waver. You could feel the tension in the room, especially from Mia, whose eyes never left you. As the lesson ended, you hurried to pack your things. You needed to get away from the scrutiny especially Mia's hostile gaze, but as you stood up, Jungkook touched your arm lightly. Hey Wine, want to join me and my friends for lunch? He asked, his eyes kind and inviting. Your heart raced, you wanted to say yes to be part of a normal school experience, but your father's word echoed in your mind. I can't, I have to study, you said, forcing a smile. He looked a bit disappointed but nodded, understandingly. Alright, maybe another time then. Yeah, maybe, he replied quickly, leaving the classroom. You could feel Mia's eyes on you the entire time, a mixture of jealousy and anger. Since that first encounter, Jungkook found himself increasingly drawn to you. Your silent nature, innocence, and willingness to help others intrigued him. You were different from the other girls who constantly waiting for his attention. Instead, you seemed to avoid him, which only made him more curious about you. One evening, you were buried in your books at the library, completely losing track of time. When you finally glanced at the clock, it was already 7 p.m. You hurriedly packed your things and headed out. As you reached the parking lot, you found a message from your father. Mind, I'm going on some work for today. Come by bus. Don't be late. Start by 6. You sighed, your father's strict routine once again dictating your actions. As you walked towards the bus stop, you accidentally dropped your books, papers scattered everywhere. Need some help? A familiar voice asked. You looked up to see Jungkook crouching down, gathering your papers. Your heart skipped a beat. Oh, thank you, you stuttered. Jungkook handed you the papers, his fingers brushing yours briefly. No problem. What are you still doing here? It's pretty late. I was studying and lost track of time. I need to catch the bus home, you admitted, feeling a bit embarrassed. At this hour, the buses aren't running today because of the maintenance work. Your face became dull. Oh no, what am I going to do now? Jungkook smiled, grabbing his water bottle and splashing some water on his face as he just came from basketball practice, the droplets making his feature even more striking. Oh, he's so now, you gulped. I can give you a ride on my bike. It's not trouble. You hesitated, remembering your father's words, but the thought of waiting alone in the dark for a bus that might not come was daunting you. Are you sure? He asked. Absolutely. Come on, let's get you home, he said with a reassuring smile. You bit your lower lip, feeling a flutter in your chest. Okay, thank you, you agreed softly. He led you to his motorcycle, handing you a spare helmet. As you put it on, you felt your nervousness give way to excitement. You had never ridden a bike before, especially not with someone like Jungkook. Hop on, he said, climbing onto the bike and starting the engine. You climbed on behind him, hesitantly placing your hands on his waist. Jungkook glanced over you through his shoulder. You will need to hold on tighter than that. I don't want you to fall. Blushing, you wrapped your arms more securely around his waist. You could feel his warmth through his jacket, and your heart raced. Is this okay? You asked, your voice barely audible over the rumble of the engine. Perfect, he replied with a grin. As you both speed up, you felt excitement and also little nervousness as it was your first time experience. He was also so happy to be on his bike. The girl who caught his attention was behind him, hugging his back. He was chuckling silently throughout the ride. Finally, you reached your house. He stopped the bike as you got down and handed his helmet back. Thank you, Jungkook, he said hesitantly. Anytime, I enjoyed the ride too, he said, his eyes were twinkling. You smiled, your heart still pounding. Good night, Jungkook. Good night, Wine. See you tomorrow, he replied, watching you as you walked to your door. As you entered your house, you couldn't help but smile to yourself. Maybe, just maybe, you could find a way to balance your father's expectations with your own desires, and perhaps Jungkook was the key to unlocking that balance. One day you were reading a book sitting at the corner of the canteen. In the center of the canteen, Jungkook and his friends were gathered around the table, laughing and talking. They were playing a game of truth or dare, their voices echoing in the empty space. Okay, Jimin, truth or dare? One of his friends asked him. Jimin smirked. Dare, of course. His friend grinned mischievously. I dare you to serene the next person who walks into the canteen. The group erupted in laughter and Jimin stood up, ready to perform. But before he could start, Jungkook's eyes wandered around the room and landed on you. His expression softened and he nudged Jimin. He forgot the dare for a second. He said, his gaze still on you. Have you guys noticed why she always so quiet and keeps to herself? His friends turned to look at you. Jimin raised an eyebrow. Yeah, she is in a few of my classes. She is really smart but never talks to anyone. Jungkook nodded. I have been trying to get to know her better, but she is really shy. One of the friends then grinned. Why don't you ask her to join us? She could have some fun. He hesitated, then stood up. All right, I will do it. Truth or dare can wait. He walked over to your table where you were engrossed in your book. You didn't notice him until he cleared his throat. Hey, Wine, he said, smiling down at you. He looked up surprised. Oh, hi, Jungkook. Mind if I join you? He asked, pulling out a chair. Sure, what's up? You replied, closing your book. We are playing Truth or Dare over there. Do you want to join us? It's fun, he said, nodding towards his friends. You were thinking whether to join or not, but his eyes were attracting you. Yeah, you said hesitantly. Perfect, let's go. He stood up and offered you his hand. You took it hesitantly, feeling a rush of warmth from his touch. As you walked over to the group, Jungkook's friends welcomed you with smiles and friendly greetings. You felt a bit nervous but also excited to play the game with them. Alright, Wine, truth or dare? He asked, a playful glint in his eye. Truth, you said, figuring it was the safer option. Jimin thought for a moment. Okay, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? You blushed, thinking back to a particularly awkward moment. Well, once I tripped and fell in front of the whole school during an assembly. The group laughed, not unkindly, and you found yourself laughing with them. As the game continued, you started to relax. You took dare to sing a short song which earned you applause and cheers from the group. Jungkook was just enjoying his moment with you. After a while, Taeyang turned to Jungkook. Your turn, Jungkook. Truth or dare? He grinned. Dare. Taeyang's eyes sparkled mischievously. I dare you to kiss the prettiest girl in the room. The group hooted and cheered, and you felt your heart race. Jungkook's eyes locked onto yours, and he stood up, walking over to you. Can I? He asked softly, looking into your eyes. You nodded, your breath catching in your throat. Jungkook leaned in and kissed you gently on the lips. The canteen seemed to fade away, and for a moment it was just the two of you. When you both pulled away, the group cheered, but Jungkook and you only had eyes for each other. Thanks for not making me lose, he said, smiling. I will never make you lose in anything. By seeing your conversation, Taeyang and Jimin exchanging looks, wide opening their mouths, giving space for flies to enjoy in. Later that day, you were near the principal office. Wine, what is this? I heard about your participating in such activities, playing truth or dare, and kissing boys. You swallowed hard, trying to remain calm. Dad, it was just a game. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Your father's face reddened. You know my rules, Wine. No distractions, no friends with other students. You're here to study, nothing more. You felt a wave of frustration but kept your voice steady. I just wanted to fit in, Dad, to have some friends. Just then Jungkook interrupted. He was passing by and heard everything. His eyes widened in surprise as he realized the principal was your father. What's wrong with kissing my girlfriend? He said, a teasing smile on his face. But you and your father turned to Jungkook in shock. Your father's face turned an even deeper shade of red. Girlfriend, he echoed, his voice rising. You quickly shook your head, trying to correct the misunderstanding. No, Dad, it's not like that. Jungkook chuckled, clearly enjoying the chaos. Yeah, Mr. Principal, Wine and I are dating. What's wrong with that? Your father glared at Jungkook, his hands clenched into fists. You will not disrespect me or my daughter in this way, he said, his voice dangerously low. I'm not trying to disrespect you, sir. I just think one should be able to have a normal school experience. Your father looked at you angrily and looked at his phone as he got a call. Wine, we will discuss this at home, he said and left to attend the call. He turned to Jungkook little angrily. Why did you say that? Jungkook grinned, not scared by the confrontation. I thought it might help. Plus, it's kind of true, isn't it? What? You were confused, but then he was getting dangerously closer to you, so you stepped back and hit the wall as there was no space to move. He leaned closer, his breath warm against your skin. I want to be your boyfriend, Wine. I love you. Your eyes widened, a mix of shyness and excitement. Jungkook, I don't know what to say. He smiled, his thumb brushing lightly over your cheek. Say yes, don't worry about your father. I can handle my father-in-law. You bit your lower lip, your mind racing. You had always been so focused on your studies, trying to meet your father's expectations. But here was Jungkook offering you something more, something you had secretly longed for. If you want to see the real world, I'm opening the doors just for you, he whispered, his eyes never leaving yours. Would you? You felt your heart swell with emotion. All your worries and fears seemed to melt away in that moment. You took a deep breath, then pulled Jungkook into a kiss. It was sweet and tender, filled with all emotions you had been holding back. When you finally pulled away, you smiled, your eyes sparkling. Yes, Jungkook, I want to be with you. He chuckled, his face lighting up with happiness. You had made me the happiest guy in the world. Thank you for watching.